from side to side. I'm trying to find better words to describe this action. This swerving of the shoulders is kind of like driving the motion of our very relaxed arms. And at some point we might have a ringing action, kind of right here at the waist, by just simply delaying the movement of the shoulders or the hips just a little bit later than the other part. But always lifting up those toes so we don't torque out our knee. And how are we doing on time? Still a little bit more. Okay. Trying to think of anything else. No questions? All right. Got water near us. Oh, and then breath is always through the nose unless, instructed otherwise. But typically we're coming to class just breathing through the nose, noticing how that breath changes with our development of the yogic breath. It becomes bigger, more expansive, calming, and it helps you just maintain more difficult poses and just maintain a certain level of your body's focus. So that's something to think about. When you start breathing out of your mouth, you introduce other concepts. You introduce other things that can affect your breath and how that affects your body. So, all right, how are we doing? Oh, okay. All right, thank you so much. Hi, I'm Jeani. Welcome to Noon Yoga with myself here at the ACC. We're in the community room. We've been working on hip openers, standing balance poses, stretches during those poses. We're doing more of the same. So have your favorite assisting tools with you, blocks, maybe a big old bolster, maybe straps. Or you can also use gravity to help you in many instances. But as we start at the back of the mat.
Sorry, can't hear you.
There we go. Having water nearby. And just as you're coming into your home base of mountain, heel to toe alignment, just feeling the mat under the feet. Maybe you have a towel. Noticing how the legs, how the body feels in your home base. You can always just give yourself a little bit of a bounce, a little rolling, trying to get into that comfortable foundation. And then we'll start our breath cultivation. Bringing the left palm to rest on your chest, right palm under the belly, on the belly, under the belly button. Take the next few breaths. The inhale, a pause before your exhale, another brief pause before another breath cycle begins. And the breath that you started with, maybe it's a little more relaxed by the time you're done with a couple of breath cycles in this more focused manner. And we'll add the sound of the ocean or a deep sigh to finish cultivating the yogic breath. Make it nice and expansive on both the inhales and the exhales. See if you can slowly fill up your lungs, expand the rib cage outward, collarbones upward, the top of that inhale. And as you exhale with a little more focus, gently press in the belly hand. Bring the belly button to the spine. Engage your core at the bottom of the exhale. All right, we can bring our hands now to relax at the side of us. Go ahead and feel out the base of the mountain once more, rolling at the soles of the feet, and then bringing your center of gravity somewhere at the top of the ankles, near to the arches, lengthening through the legs as is available. We'll inhale, draw energy, if you will, through the feet, legs, up the spine, to the crown of the head and beyond. And then exhale slowly, reverse direction. Imagine the energy returning through the body, through the spine, legs, feet to the mat. With the next inhale, we're going to slowly start tipping our weight towards the toes. With an inhale, almost done at the tip there. We'll briefly pause. We'll start to roll the weight at the soles of our feet towards the heels. Fully exhaled, hopefully, by that tipping point back there. Give yourself a couple of breath cycles to find that heel to toe center of gravity in alignment. And then we'll meet somewhere at the top of the ankles in a centered, more hopefully centered position. Coming back to our mountain, go ahead and reset. Lift the toes and the heels if you need. Inhale a little longer in the legs and the back. And as we're feeling that energy lifting all the way up through the crown of the head, almost like a string pulling up, we can exhale. Simply roll the weight at the feet towards the outer right edge. Fully exhaled here. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the other side. Try to keep the body nice and long and making the movement rolling at the soles of the feet from left to right. 3-part breath if you inhale at the center, exhale at either side, or just a 2-part breath. Inhale to one side, exhale to the other. When you find that mapping, go ahead and come back to center in our mountain. Reset it once more if you need. Inhaling nice and tall. We're starting to make small circles at the ankles, radiating outward towards the perimeter of the feet. Give yourself a few breath cycles to find the edge of the feet. And then go ahead and draw in the circles towards the center once more at the top of the ankles, nearer to the heels. Feel as if you're returning to mountain like water going down a drain. Inhale once more, feeling uplifted through the crown of the head. Nice, long, tall mountain. Make small circles in the opposite direction, again at the ankles, radiating outwards. Notice if there's any difference. You might have stiffness you're finding in the ankles, in the hips, in the knees. Even though there's not much joint movement going on, we're just gently moving around. And then we'll come back to center once that perimeter is explored. And then go ahead, lift up a foot, shift the weight. We're moving on up the body. And you can widen the feet as you go, but just start shifting that weight. And then you might notice the toes feel a little better, pivoting outwards as you make more and more of a motion to turn, to face the side, this side. And eventually you might have a twisting, gentle traction of twisting at the waist. Arms are nice and relaxed. And then we'll let that energy peter out and return back to center. Bring in the toes, heel to toe alignment, feet underneath the hips once more. Give yourself a gentle bounce, roll from the heels to the toes, lifting the heels, and come on back to your mountain. And we'll go ahead and move on up to the shoulders. At this point, feel yourself drawing the energy, lengthening through the legs, feeling maybe less of a deep bend to the knees if you had them at the beginning, to maybe a little longer in the legs, a gentle tuck of the tailbone. Press down through the legs, internal rotation of those thighs. Feel as if you've got all points of your soles nice and flat on the mat. Inhaling the shoulders, we're going to bring them up towards the ceiling. Exhale, just let them roll back and melt down the back. Fully exhale, draw in the belly button, feel rooted. We're doing a total of 4 breath cycles worth of these shoulder rollouts. Inhaling the shoulders up, exhaling as we roll them back and down. Use that good, deep yogic breath to help facilitate the release. Inhaling finds lengthening, exhaling, rooting, engaging the core as you expel the air. Maybe one more here. See if you can get the tips of the triangular shoulder blade bottoms to tuck into the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. We'll do another round. Inhale up. This time roll forward on the exhale. And again, another 4 total breath cycles of rolling the shoulders up on the inhale. Exhaling them forward, melting them still down the back, tucking into the mid-back. fully engaged core at the end there. All right, and then we'll move on up. Give yourself any movement to release from that last position. Reset the mountain if you need. And finding yourself with shoulders just a little more stacked on top of hopefully the hips, which should be on top of the knees and ankles, just a little more upright. Gentle tuck of the chin, feel that string once more at the crown of the head, lifting up through to the ceiling. So all you have to do is exhale, let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder, both shoulders still in line. Inhale, feel that lengthening even at the sternum, at the top of the chest. So all you have to do is exhale, turn the gaze. One nice column of support from the shoulders all the way down to the heels. You're just giving yourself those 4 magical breath cycles to see if you can release on the left side of the neck. Incorporate those deep ocean-like breaths. See if your eyes can land on the rightmost of your vision. And if you find your shoulders curling in, just reorient the palms forward. And that deep engagement of the yogic breath will help you release. All right, after that last exhale, we can just bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting to the top of the ceiling at the top of the inhale. Then exhale over to the other side. Inhale, and then turn the gaze on the exhale if you haven't already. 4 breath cycles, and maybe you're looking in front of your shoulder softly, kind of out of focus. With each passing exhale, you might find more and more of the resting gaze farther back to the left. And then with that very last exhale, engaging the core, feeling rooted at the bottom of that exhale. So all we have to do is inhale the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head all the way back up, lifting at the top of the inhale there. So all you have to do is float the eyes downward. Just a slight tucking of the chin, lengthening of the back of the neck while you still have a good sized space between the chin and the chest. See if you can see somewhere about 6 feet in front of you. Soft gaze. And again, return to the breath. Imagine as you're inhaling deeply, the chest is expanding outward and upward. On the exhale, you're feeling the air leaving the lungs. And imagine the energy returning down through the body, through the feet, to the earth. Engage the core at the bottom of the exhale. And as you breathe, finding any achiness, maybe at the back of the shoulders, at the top of the shoulders, at the base of the neck. Exhaling, allowing them to release. And then we can, with our very last exhale, do that, and then inhale the eyes upwards towards the midline, past it, and when you can see somewhat above you, stop craning the neck, and use the next 4 breath cycles here to release in the front of the throat. Maybe it's a small O to a larger O. Maybe it's a deep sigh. Maybe it's just you lolling out your tongue with a sigh, getting a little bit of humming vibration in the throat. As you get deeper in your exhales and breath, you might be engaging more of that restful state of the nervous system. All right, with the last breath, go ahead and bring the eyes back to center and make any movement to release. You might be really rooted still, so picking up those heavy rooted feet and then finding your mountain once more. We'll start our walking meditations with our folds. So feeling a little more energized, stepping into our mountain with a little more purpose, a little more focus, feeling the crown of the head shining to the ceiling. Really nice engaged core there. We're going to reach downward with our fingers. As we inhale, extend the arms out, above, and at the top, maybe even reach up with the sternum, with the chest. And then exhale, engage the core. Step into your feet, bend the knees slightly if you need, but you're starting to move the tailbone back as your long torso, hinging at the hips, comes down for your first fold. Somewhere halfway down, you might need to walk the hands down, but you're just giving yourself this point to slowly unfold into the first position here of a ragdoll fold. We're just giving ourselves a deep bend to the knees, maybe to the hips with a little more hinging, feeling that center, focusing, making sure you're not tipping forward too much or back. Again, somewhere at the tops of the ankles, nearer to the heels, should be your center. Give yourself a gentle bounce if you need. And if you notice you're still pretty much in a half lift position of the back, all you're doing here is just trying to allow it to relax. Maybe allow the gaze to slowly pull forward towards the floor, keeping your center of gravity still in the same place. Notice if your arms, if they can be relaxed, just dangling with the help of gravity. Maybe they need to be supported. Maybe you're already touching the floor, ankles, blocks, whatever. But wherever you are, you're just giving yourself those 5 good deep breath cycles to find release in the lower sacrum, all the way down the spine, even to the neck. So notice if you're holding on to the weight of your 10 to 15 pound head. You can gently nod from left to right, forward and back, yes and no. Maybe even just bobble there like a plumb line. And then as we begin to think about coming out of our first ragdoll, we're going to engage the core. Bend the knees deeply if you need. Step into your feet, and we're going to slowly roll up, one vertebra at a time. Bring that center of gravity towards the heels once more. And as you walk up, you can even help stepping into the legs, help walk the hands up the legs. We're bringing the chest up, the vertebra stacks one at a time until the head stacks last. Give yourself a breath or two here to let the blood rush back to the head. A deep breath, and coming back into our mountain once more, reaching down a second fold. As we reach downward, energizing downward, we're inhaling the arms, extending them up, engaging the core, reaching up if we need, pressing down with our feet, and sticking the tailbone back. Bend the knees if you need, and come on down, hinging at the hips. Really feeling that center of gravity at the hips, and then walk the hands down or float on down to your second fold. It's not as long as the first one, but you have hopefully a better idea of how you're doing in your fold. You can do any other types of movement, adjustment. Maybe you're just simply swaying the hips, getting a little bit of movement in the ankles. Maybe you're bending one knee just a little more and lengthening that leg, and then alternating with the other leg, other knee. And then find your balance once more. And as you approach your third breath cycle, we're going to plan to come out of this one with also a slow roll up or with a long back, long straight back. But either way, we're engaging our core. We're pressing into our feet, firming up the legs, dropping into that center at our tailbone and walking the hands up. We're coming up with a straight back, engaged core all the way. Hands above, and see if you can bring the hands even at a tangent away from you if you need, down heart center, palms gently touching. And here we'll start our walking meditation. Go ahead and start bringing standing weight to the left leg. You can keep a bend to that knee, but lifting the right foot, maybe it's the heel, maybe it's the entire sole of the foot on the inhale. Stepping it forward on the exhale, maybe landing on the heel, maybe the midfoot, the ball of the foot, the toes. Fully exhaled there, stepping into that before you lift the left foot and hover that, or touch down if you need, and then stepping that forward. Trying to find that articulation of the midfoot at the very least to the ball of the foot, to the toes, bringing the other foot up on the inhale. It's essentially one breath cycle per step. And if you feel like you're about to fall out or wobbly, step into your core, engage the core, press into the hands. And if you fall out, that's okay. We'll meet at the top of the mat and looking down at our fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, watch them rise. At the top, we're going to remove the contact between the palms. Exhale, engage the core, hinge at the hips, stick the tailbone back, come on down for another fold. If you have your blocks, they're there. You can press into the blocks, press into wherever your hands are with the next inhale to lengthen as best you can with the legs from the hips to the heels, but also from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Maybe you're just lengthening with that intention. Maybe you have a full 90-degree half lift here. Wherever you are, just find that energy from the hips down to the heels, from the tailbone to the crown, horizontally. And then exhale, just simply bend the elbows if you're holding on to support there, or let the chest lower. And here you can start to bend the knees and bring your hands down to either side of the feet. Maybe it's your blocks, maybe it's the actual mat. Step one foot back, step the other. Nice long legs at the beginning, so we can inhale, bring the shoulders over the wrists as we're lengthening, and then simply exhale, bring the toes to untuck and shins come down. They're about right underneath, maybe a little farther than the hips, a little past that. And what we're looking for is not this full forward position of our shoulders over the wrists, so you might need to make just small adjustments. Lift up on the knees and simply shift backwards a little bit, or walk the hands forward. But we don't want to dump all our weight into our knees. We want the support of the shins for most of that bottom weight, the shins and the tops of the feet. And if that is just something that's not working for you, you can always tuck the toes, but still try to keep a lot of that weight right there at the shins. And the top of the weight, majority of that weight is up in these strong, long, extended arms. The belly button is engaged, the core is engaged, a nice, strong hypotenuse from about the knee, shin area to the crown of the head. Then we're going to inhale, tuck the toes, lift up the hips, and exhale. Just press into those long arms so you can shift into your upside down V. Your heels may be very lifted. Your feet should be up, about hips distance apart. But you may, in this first iteration of your down dog, just play with your positioning. See if you need to keep a deep bend to the knees. Notice if you have a lot of space between the hands and the feet. If we're looking for an upside down V, we might have our hands and feet just a little closer. If we are at a very deep bowl-like U, work on getting the apex, the tailbone, at the very top. And in inhale, we're going to roll our eyes towards the hands. And again, heels do not need to come down to the mat. They can be lifted. We're going to bend the knees deeply if we need. We're going to walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the feet, to our fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, lengthen through the legs, through the back for a half lift, best that you can. And then exhale, fold once more. Fully engaged core here. We're going to inhale, press into the feet, firm up the thighs. Come on up, your choice, one vertebra at a time, or a straight back all the way back up. Hands above the head, lifting all the way up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. And at this stage, we'll come in for our second walking meditation. Inhale, standing way to the left side of the body, lift the right foot, maybe it's the heel, and start your walk. Exhale that foot down. Feel that shift of the center towards that front foot as you inhale, stepping into the right foot. Exhale the left foot down. Feel the ball of the foot helping you bring that other foot up. Exhaling that foot down. And inhaling, bringing the left foot up and exhaling that down. And when you get to the top of the mat, both feet together in mountain, hips distance apart, palms together. Inhale in, press into the palms, watch them rise. At the top, separate the palms, engage the core, and hinge at the hips. Exhale to another fold. Come on down, walk the hands down if you need. Use your props as you need. Fully exhaled into your fold. We're going to press into our shins, our hands, wherever we're supporting the arms, and lengthen to our half lift. And then exhale. Come on back towards the fold, to the mat. Use the blocks, use your hands. Step a foot, step both feet. And this time, keep your long legs as we inhale, shoulders over the wrists, high plank this time. A nice strong engagement of the core from the heels down to the balls of the feet, and also from the shoulders down to the wrists. But we've got that core alignment, core strength from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. One nice long hypotenuse. Then inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, press into those nice long arms so we can come into our down dog. Maybe the heels can float down a little closer. You can inhale up to the tiptoes and slowly roll down the balls of the feet, maybe to the outer arches. Keep a bend to the knees if you need. Adjust the distance between the hands and feet if you need. And one more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. Lengthen. See if you can lift up the tailbone to the sky as you're pressing hands and feet downward. And then inhale. Look to the hands. Exhale. Bend the knees. Walk your hands to the back of the mat. Engaged core here so you can come into your supported fold. Inhale. Half lift. Exhale. Fold. Inhale. Bring up the core once more, engage it, and come on up, your choice. Inhaling, stepping in and lengthening, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And finally, relaxing them down at the side. Take a nice breath. And hopefully your hips, your shoulders, your hands, even just by pressing your palms down, if you can get the flesh between that top knuckle and the bottom knuckle down, you are going to get a nice stretch in those maybe arthritic joints of the fingers. So it's a good time for some water too. And grab yourself a strap if you'd like. We'll be going into our standing poses with some stretches with the shoulders. And if you have a strap, that'll just help you. We're always looking for that motion of being close to the body. If an elbow is lifted, close to the head, trying not to be out at a tangent if possible. Unless we're doing cactus arm stretches, so which we will be doing too. So we'll find our mountain. I'm going to grab a strap. We'll be moving from cactus arms to swinging hopefully into eagle like we've done before. And transition to our cooling off period right after we give ourselves a nice little massage, a little back neck rub. So keeping our strap nearby, we're going to come into our mountain. And I'm going to turn just for perspective for you, but we'll start off with making sure you can see your feet. Your knees should be, hopefully one knee isn't a lot farther bent than the other, but sometimes you might have pronounced asymmetry. So we're trying to balance things. We're keeping the tops of the toes hopefully up against one line. The knees should be somewhat the same. And step into your mountain just with a little more clarity this time. Notice, I'm going to turn to the side. Notice if you came in with an anterior tilt, with legs bowled out, we want to bring the knees and the toes to face forward. We want to step into our legs, internally rotating the thighs, feeling a little more of the tailbone dropping downward so we can lengthen up here, just feeling a little taller, a little longer. And eventually, we're hopefully getting that ear over the shoulder, over the hips, over the knees, over the ankles. And as we're doing that, we'll go ahead and start feeling into that. And we'll notice any changes in our foundation, especially the soles of the feet as we're moving through the stretches. So here we're just going to inhale the arms up, palms can face one another, and we're just going to grab our opposite elbows. And now I'm just going to turn around because the perspective might be better this way. So take a breath here, inhale, lift up through the sternum, press in through the legs. If you're noticing your feet rolling out towards the outer edges, rebalance them. Take another breath. Exhale, bring up the arms. Inhale, lift. Exhale, grab the opposite elbow. And if you don't know which one that is, that's okay. If it doesn't feel right, then just switch the sides. We're going to do this 2 more times. So inhale, arms up. Exhale, opposite elbow. And then 1 more. Inhale up. Exhale, opposite elbow. And then let's go ahead and just release. Go ahead and give yourself a nice little windmill, palms facing forward, and then let the palms go in towards the thighs. Go ahead and any kind of rolls. See if there's any movement that feels good to release from there. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing. Inhaling up goes the arms, but this time we're going to bring this left arm down. And just having one all the way up, we're going to grab a hold of the strap with our down arm and let that kind of just stand at our side. If you can bring the back of your hand at your hip, that's great. If that's too much at this point, just hold on to the strap. We're going to grab the other strap. If you can get a hold of that, you can't by bending the elbow there, go ahead and bring the elbow down here and grab it from a place where you can bring the elbow close to the body and you still have access to it. And all you're going to do is play with bringing that elbow up. But if you can, keep the elbow up, keeping the hands together, and eventually just bringing the back of the hand to rest. We haven't really done much of the stretching at the bottom stage, so don't go too deeply up or down. See if you can just bring this to be weight to help lift up through the right shoulder. And again, notice if your foundation shifted, you want to make sure you're not rolling out or rolling in or tipping to the back or tipping to the front. Nice stability, even balance at the soles of the feet. We've been here for at least 3 to 5 breath cycles, which takes about that much time for the body to find its sweet spot. If you've gone too far, come on out. If you've not gone enough, go a little more. And then from here, we're going to breathe 3 good deep ocean breaths. Inhaling, lifting at the sternum. I'm going to turn once more, so it's just a subtleness, pressing into the legs, lifting up at the sternum, exhaling the sternum back down, feeling a little more rooted. Inhale, exhale, engage the core. And if you feel yourself really pressing down on your feet, you don't have to do that. Just keep those muscles active to stay upright. One last breath cycle, and then we can release. We're going to let go of the left long arm and let the right one float down, elbow downward, and then just let it kind of dangle. Especially that top arm, just give it a little bit of time dangling in like a circular motion, and then see if your shoulder can go forward and back along a horizontal line. It's just kind of imagine doing something like that with the shoulders. And then you can do whatever for the last part here. And then we'll go to the other side. So both arms up. And left arm went down, so right arm goes down this time. And give yourself some time. Lift up through the left arm. Exhale, see if you can get a hold of that bottom strap. And then again, we're working on bending that elbow. If just bringing the elbow up to this point is too much, you're still working here, grabbing that elbow, opening up with the elbow at top close to the body, doing what you can. And this bottom hand just becomes a gentle weight, helping bring a little traction, a little openness to this left side of the shoulder, the left shoulder girdle, the left side of the body. We're inhaling, we're finding some space here, and when you get to that sweet spot, it should take you about 3 to 5 breath cycles. See where you can be. And then we'll breathe with intention, and I'll turn around once more. When we inhale those 3 extra breath cycles, we're going to lift. You're going to feel that deep energy filling the body, maybe even the sternum lifting at the top of the inhale. So all we have to do is exhale and let that air out to return to center. Inhale, exhale. And one last one. Inhale, exhale. And then we can release the bottom hand and slowly let the left elbow lower. Let it unfold. Give it some just neutral movement in the shoulder girdle, maybe a left to right. If it feels good, then we're ready to move on. And here we're going to move into cactus arms just slightly. You can just take your hands, palms facing you, and just bring them out like that, palms down. Notice how that feels at the top. If you go any higher like this, it may catch there, may not feel good. So just out there, and we're reaching outwards. Then we're going to switch the swing, come back up, switch the front arm with the back, one more, come back up, and then bend at the elbows. So here we want elbows at about the armpit level, and then turn the palms. So inhaling maybe in towards the body, exhale towards away. Notice if you can relax the hands and just get that wrist gently moving. And if you can match it with the breath, that's nice. Then we'll go ahead and bring this left hand down, and we're going to reach up with this hand. Keep that right foot planted. Make sure it doesn't lift up as we reach over to the other side, and we're pressing down here. And it's mostly here that we should feel that. Inhale up, exhale that hand down, palm facing down, and release. We'll go ahead and bring that same motion. Front arm swings in the front, then switches with the back, and then we'll bring the arms back out, really reaching outwards here. And then we're going to bend the elbows once more. And then this time, we'll go ahead and bring this arm down, and this arm can go up. And then stabilize that left foot and reach over. It's not too much of a bend in any other part of the body, it's just the upper armpit area. And then we can inhale all the way back up, and then exhale, let that come down. Alrighty, now we're going to bring that swing back up, one in front, one in back, and then we're just going to hold under our left arm. Swing one elbow under the other. I'm sorry, I didn't cue that fast enough, but just note which one's on top. Which one are you cradling and which one is doing the cradling? And it's, again, kind of at this elbow to shoulder area. You've got the cactus arm now just in. And then we'll go ahead and release, swing a couple more times, and we'll try to do the opposite. The right elbow is now cradled by my left. And if you didn't get it right, that's okay. You can switch it again. We're going to have a chance to do this 2 more times. Inhale deeply. Feel that space at the back of your shoulder blades spreading as you inhale to the top of that breath. And then on the exhale, release. Let it swing a couple of times. Reverse the front and the back. And then cradle the left elbow. And here, I want you to go ahead and gently fold it in towards the center, just a little more than where you originally started. And as you do that, bringing the face, bringing the orientation of the palm towards the face and away from the face. See how that plays in your shoulder. See if you lower that elbow and turn the palm. Bringing back the elbow. Breathe deeply. Bring that space to the back of the shoulders, and exhale, release. Let them swing. One last time, your right elbow is going to be cradled by your left elbow. And this time, as we inhale deeply, we're going to exhale, draw the elbow in just a little closer to the chest. And as you do so, hopefully you'll feel an external rotation of the right shoulder and play with the movement of the palm. See how that feels. Lengthen through that arm. Gently move the palm orientation. And then bring the bend back to the elbow. And hopefully you're finding all the way from the neck down to the back of that shoulder blade. And then exhale, release. We're going to swing once more, and we're coming into eagle arms this time. So this time, eagle arm is just a little more. Maybe you can get the wrists to move. If not, you're just going to where you can, make more of a contact up. Maybe even the palms can touch. Some people are so open, their palms are at the exact same length, tips. But if you have one shoulder tighter than the other, you might just be more here. Not so much cradling that arm, elbow bend like we did in the last pose, but more of just a twisting of these two things, finding a really long stretching along the tops of the shoulders, keeping the elbows at the shoulder length. Inhale deeply, engage the core, see if your feet are rolling out, bring them back into line if they are, and then exhale, let them swing back out. And you want to try to get that other arm there. So I had my left under my right, so now my right has my left, and I'm turning around, trying to get the wrist, the forward forearm maybe even the palms to touch. Trying to keep the shoulders, the elbows at about the armpit shoulder length. And just do what you can. We're breathing in here. As you inhale, don't let the elbows droop. You'll find more of a stretch as you inhale. And as you exhale, find just a little bit of the belly engagement at the bottom of the exhale. A little more rooting down the legs. All right, and then we'll just release and let that swing until it peters out. We'll go ahead and roll the shoulders. Do what feels good, maybe forward rolling, maybe alternately back stroking, whatever feels good. And then you can also just move at the wrists, bringing the fingers to really splay, doing what you can, flicking them. You've got a lot of stretching at the shoulders. A lot of the movement in our fingers are going to make us tight here, up at the shoulders. A lot of this, a lot of that. So now we're going to be coming down towards the mat. So if you need blocks, if you need a chair, come on down to the mat. We are moving into a staff position first. So you can take your, I don't have the chair here to demonstrate, but I have mat. I have blocks at the mat. So you can bring your fold into play here, reaching out for your blocks. You can just simply fold and start to come into a squat. You can bring the shins down and bring the hips down to one side, and then leaning down on, or leaning back and giving your backside a nice massage. We're going to be sitting upright. And if you're not able to sit upright in this 90-degree flexion at the hips, sit on a block. And you might need to have the blocks side by side. You might be able to stack 2 blocks on top of each other, but that's kind of narrow. And all you need is just a couple of inches usually. If you had an injury and you have to have more than that, well, you might need to have a big 2-foot block or bolster or the chair. But if you're able to get just a little more elevation to the hips, that might help as you're transitioning. You might have a deep tented knees. Back sides of the legs are really tight here, so we're just lengthening, trying to get to this point. Now, as we're going into staff, I am not going to be on the blocks, but down here, you want to make sure your backs of the knees are not hyperextending also. So just try to relax best that you can. Even if you're up on the blocks, keep a gentle bend to the knees. You can use your strap. If you're having difficulty lengthening through the legs, use the straps against the balls of the feet. Give yourself that square foot mountain stance at the base, and get your staff into this 90-90 position. The feet are flexed, let them relax. The hips are flexed at a 90 degree. Keep the chest upright. And then as we're there, then we're just going to bend one knee. Start leaning back, bend a knee, and see how close you can bring the sole of your foot, while it's completely down on the mat, the heel closer to the body. You might have to lean back a bit, but what we're trying to do is find that spot where we can set up and hold onto the shin. You might be able to bring the heel all the way to the groin and sit all the way up. If your hips are very open, that might look a little easier. If you are not able to do that, to bring the heel in while you're elevated on your hips and start opening up in this manner. And what we're just trying to do is, you can notice that I'm leaning the sacrum back, so I'm more on my tailbone, with my tailbone tucked under. What you're trying to do is just tilt up on the pelvis so we can be more on, just sitting on our sits bones, on our tailbone, instead of rounding the tailbone under. And we're just opening up the hip by just giving it a deep flexion here. And you can lengthen through the hamstring, calf, Achilles heel, the backside of that long leg, but keeping it nice and relaxed, not hyperextending the knee. And once you find that position that you can hold for a bit, we're just going to breathe. Give yourself 3 good deep breath cycles. what we're finding is the lengthening of our spine from our tailbone all the way to the head, just getting a little longer. The chest should be lifting. And if you find that at first it was just really flexing to hold it, with each passing exhale, you should find a little less activation of the muscle and yet still be able to maintain that position. If that's not occurring, you can always back out and come back in with less intensity, or just find yourself in a more suitable position that you can hold. But eventually we're hoping that this is just helping the knee, the ankle, the hips to just open up a little more. When we're ready to come out, we're going to lean back so that we can unfold the left knee, left leg. Just start to inch it down and give yourself a nice little tap. Roll from left to right, and you can do that. You'll feel at the sits bones so that your legs are also rolling as one unit at about the hips along the heels. And then we'll go move to the other side. And so if you're still on the block, stay there. If you're down on the mat, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to inhale, bring the toes and the heels, knees, and the toes to orient towards the ceiling. Exhaling, just finding a little bit of that engagement of the core. And then when we inhale slowly, start to draw the right sole of the foot down and the heel closer to your groin area. And maybe this is as far as you're going to get, but we're eventually working our way to bringing it closer to the heel. You may need to lean back. You can rock into it a little bit. But wherever you're going, you need to be able to hold that position with ease and comfort. So don't go too far. And then notice where you are when you're finally holding onto that position. We don't want a curve of the lower back. You're trying to sit up and gently just allowing this leg to lengthen, not really engaging too much more from that, but noticing with each passing breath, as we've gotten our 3 to 5 breath cycles to get to this point, using the next 3 breath cycles, deeply inhaling, finding length, and on the exhale, releasing, maybe in the right hip, right ankle, right knee, keeping the ocean breath there. Inhales are good for lengthening, bringing energy, also for just noticing if there's any achiness. And usually giving your body the time and the space to open up, you'll find there's a little more movement in those deep, tight hinge areas of the hip, knee, and ankles. All right, now to come out, we're going to lean back, bring your arms, hands back to the side. Do what you need to do so you can lean back and start to walk that left foot down. If you can just lengthen through that right foot, go ahead. I'm going to come down from the blocks. But now as we're in our staff position and have gone through the head, now we're going to just lean back, bend both the knees this time, bring both of the sides of the feet together, the soles of the feet down onto the mat, and they should be about hips distance apart. And we're just going to let, with a bend to the elbows, let the knees drop to one side. And they may drop as you're just rolling to the side of the foot. They may just drop and maybe the entire leg is there. Maybe it's just hovering in the air. But we're going to give ourselves an inhale up, bring the sacrum back to the mat, and then exhale to the other side. You're rolling on the edge of our soles of the feet right there. And we're bending our elbows to help accommodate this. And we can inhale, bring the knees, put the tailbone back onto the mat. And then we're going to lift up a little bit more with our chest and start to roll once more to the left side. And this time, you can bring your right hand to this side and just roll over to the left side of your body, your left leg. Both knees are together, but what we're trying to do now is separate the knees. Now we're going to bring that top shin, left shin hopefully, to more of a parallel position. And the right knee is going to go a little further back if we have that space available. We're stretching through here. We're going through this deep flexion on the left side as we're doing a deep extension on the right side of our hip. We're lengthening through the right quad. And if you have your toes, your ankle flexed on this back foot, point the toes back away from your knee. It'll help to keep any tightness, any torquing from going on in your right knee. So here, eventually if you have nice open hips, you might be able to just drop this right hip down and sit upright. Many people have very tight hips that they can't do that. So the thing to do in our deer here is just to play with that orientation. You're inhaling length, you're exhaling, finding a little release in that top right hip. See if you can just get it a little closer towards the floor. And then we're going to inhale, make our torso very nice and long, and start to lower the torso. You may have a block nearby. You may have your blankets nearby. But some of us might need something under our rib cage. Some of us might just need it under our forearm. But eventually, if you can bring your torso downward, you might have your entire torso on the floor you're just in a twisted deer laying down. But if you need to be on the forearm, you can have the block under there. You can have the block under the hip. You can have more blocks under the rib cage, if this is as far as you can go. However you'd like to use your deer, find your steady, comfortable pose of deer, and then we're breathing from here. Supporting the head if it's lifted, you can support by block, your hand. And we're breathing 5 breath cycles, deep, ocean-like, yogic breaths. The inhale. You're twisted, you may not be able to breathe as deeply as you'd like, but try to do it. See if your rib cage can expand sideways, even in this twisted position. And on the exhale, see if you can drop any activation in the lower limbs. Notice if you're holding your ankles, your toes, even your palms, your hands, as long as you're not dangling your neck without support. You're just trying to find release and breathing. And as you come to your last breath cycle, after the exhale, we're going to inhale, start to bring the gaze up. If your head is dangling, you're going to bring it up into alignment of your neck and your shoulders. Then you can start to draw the hands upward so you can lengthen through the torso. With an inhale, slowly start to return the torso towards the center. You're going to just simply lift that back foot and start to bring the knees together. Once more, we're just reversing course. Going back to the mat, to our base, almost bridge position, arms behind us. You can make sure your feet are about hips distance apart. Bend those elbows once more. My mat is really rolling up lately, I've noticed. I need to get a little smoother here. But now we're back here. We're going to give ourselves another gentle windshield wipe from side to side, and you should have better range of mobility, so maybe the frequency is a little faster. And then we're going to come back to center and then just let our knees drop slowly to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start to come up to the right side of the body. Let that right knee drop, hopefully not onto a prop. And as your knees come to one side, we're going to let them start to separate and start to peel out the right shin so that it's above this left thigh, left knee. And give yourself 3 to 5 good breath cycles to find your deer on this right side. What we're looking for is just an opening of this right opening of the left hip. So that's going to be an extension. And if you're really tight, you're going to have a smaller space between this left knee and the right heel. If you're really nice and open, you'll have this great, just like spiraling of your legs. But again, you want to make sure your toes, your back foot toe is pointed away from that knee. If you flex that foot, it tends to torque more easily. So try to keep that foot pointed back behind you. And if you can rest, and this is feeling good at the foundation, then you can start to inhale, long torso, and start to turn until your torso stops. And from that point, now we're finding that lowering point. Where is your deer on this side? So as you have your foundation, maybe you need a block under the hip. Maybe you need it under the ribs. Maybe under the forearm. But as you're taking your 3 to 5 breath cycles to find that sweet spot, you're finding a flexion of the right hip, support of the right leg, while the left leg is in deep extension, left hip is in deep extension, both ankles nice and open. And then if you can stretch through the upper torso, that's just a cherry on top. Maybe it's the gaze turning to the right. Maybe it's the extension of the left arm. Wherever you are and you found your spot, and breathing 5 good deep breath cycles from there. Allow the inhale to bring in energy even in this twisted position. You might find the rib cage expands. You can close the eyes, you can unfurrow the brow. And with each passing breath cycle, maybe you might find release at the ankle, the left hip. As you approach your very last breath cycle, fully exhaled, we're going to inhale, bring the gaze back in line with your neck and your shoulders. Then start to bring the hands, walk the hands underneath the shoulders so you can lengthen through the torso. And slowly start to bring your torso back to center. You're turning, and as soon as you can see your knees, you can start to lift that left back leg and bring the knees a little closer. Bring that right left hip down. The sacrum rolls back into this somewhat upright base bridge position. Widen the feet, hips distance apart. Just one more time. We're moving into Shavasana now. So I invite you to make your way onto your back in your most favorite way, whether that's going into a fetal position and then lengthening back onto the mat, or just sliding on down one elbow at a time, and then one leg at a time. And if you notice that your hips are still tented, your calf might be lifted, your knee might be lifted, you may need to just give yourself a little bit of time to unfold. So if you know that your Shavasana benefits from having, say, a bolster or padded folded blanket under your knees, your lower back, maybe even your neck, make sure that you get comfortable. And as you lengthen through the legs, you might need to give yourself some extra breaths. If you find your lower lumbar area highly lifted, you might just need to give yourself some time to relax, and then you'll hopefully find the lumbar lowers and you're feeling supported. There's naturally a space there usually. But if it's really too uncomfortable, put a folded blanket under there. You can point the toes. You can make any last movement to just get ready to relax. Overhead stretch, point flexion of the feet, extension of the arms, palms facing up. And then soften the belly, soften the gaze, if not close the eyes. And in the next 5 minutes, enjoy your Shavasana. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. And I'll sit upright to mind the time. Bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to your breath. Feel the belly rise with each inhale, and the belly fall with each exhale. And as you return to your body vessel, make any movements with the fingers, toes. You can rock from side to side. We'll be making our way back up to an easy seated position for a simple breath exercise. And it's just going to give us a little more, hopefully, balance, We'll lengthen the shoulders. So sitting upright in your favorite position, staff, crisscross applesauce, hero. We just want a nice upright seated position where we're sitting on top of our sits bones, and we have a nice straight back. So if you have high knees in a crisscross applesauce position, you can always use blocks to help support the knees. Or you can just let nature take its course, and eventually they'll open up. So if you're in the hero position, you want to make sure you're not, you've got your feet nice and flat, your hip bones are on the heels, and we're sitting upright nice and tall. We'll go ahead and bring the hands up here, and then we're going to exhale the left hand down and reach up and bend that left elbow back. You might need to turn your fingers forward, and we're reaching up here. Fully inhaled here, and then exhale still here, and then inhale back up. Both hands come all the way back up. And then exhale, right hand down, and we're just stretching from that left hip all the way to the left hand. Take a breath cycle here, inhaling, exhaling, and then we inhale all the way back up, both hands. And then exhale, we're going to turn as we're exhaling until we stop turning our torso, and we can bring the arms down. Fully exhaled here. See if the back of your right hand can be kind of on the edge of your left thigh and kind of act as a holding point, an anchor point. So you can inhale, lift up through the crown of the head. Exhale, engage the core. Breathe a little deeply. Make the belly small. Inhale, arms up. And turn the torso back. Exhale, let the arms float as you exhale all the way to the other side. Fully exhaled here. Take a full breath cycle. Inhaling. And then exhaling. See if you can turn just a little more. Just make the belly small. And then inhale. Both arms go up. And we turn towards the center. Hands down, heart center. Fully exhaled, arms nice and relaxed. Thank you so much for joining me here at the ACC's Community Room for Gentle Yoga at noon. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Yay. Thank you. Well, we didn't get to the back neck rub, sorry. I'm hoping you were enjoying the other things too. But yeah, remember you can always, it feels so nice. And when you're on your back in bridge, if you have shoulder range issues and you're on your back, try those, rolls. Try, if you can reach back underneath you when you're on bridge, then that'll help you too. Sometimes having the floor as your support will keep you from going too far back if you have, really bad tightness and you're not sure. So, yeah. Anyhow, thank you.
no idea for